Hello everyone, Caretaker here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in the last Caretaker, and I am on the oil platform. I'm wanting to look up the name, but I don't have a map capability on the platform. So we'll get down to the boat eventually, and I'll identify what the platform is. So anyway, let me poke outside for just a second. It's unfortunately nighttime. So this is kind of overlooking the main platform here. So the purpose of this particular tour is just to kind of say, hey, this is what you can do. Obviously in a game like this, there's 100,000 different options for any player who plays. I just want to show you one possible option. This is a pretty large deviation from what it was when I first was, I thought, done, and discovered nope, not done. So what I had done was pump oil, crude oil, onto the ship. I had 6 tanks on my boat, and put the distilling tower on the boat, and that didn't work out so well. So it was fine when it was at dock, but it promptly went wonky when we got underway. So lift weigh anchors and get underway, and you're all done. So, and it did it consistently. I actually tested 3 times, and it did the same thing all 3 times. So I think what happened was I ended up with too much weight on the boat. Possibly just the distillation tower was not something ever intended to be on the boat, or at least a boat that size. So, oops, strange things happen. So anyway, this is, let me go down onto the main deck here and kind of look up, and you can see where I'm at. So if you've been to the oil platform, then you know you have 2 big deck houses, I'll call them here. There's this one on this side, which all the pipes are in the way, and then the one on this side. So this one is a bit problematic because you have a lot of creatures in there. Once you clear that out, it's pretty much, of course I cleared everything out, including all of the bits and bobs that are in there, and so those 2 are empty, pretty much. So nothing over there to speak of, but we'll have a look anyway. So this I have turned into my kind of production area. This didn't really fit inside well. So what I ended up doing was putting the fabricator in here, and then this is the storage for everything. So you know, lots of crap that you can collect pretty much on any platform that you go to. You're going to have a bunch of stuff. I have plenty of materials on the boat, so I'm just basically, every time I go through, clear a platform, convert it all into raw materials, and then store the materials on that platform. That way, if I ever come back, I've got materials right there. I don't have to draw from the boat stuff. This is, I do need to take this, so I'm gonna, I'm gonna grab all that, because that actually let me, I'll put one of each on here. I stole all these from the boat because I had a bunch left, so just leave stuff here. So let's go upstairs. So that's all the production area there. The reason, so you have a very finite radius from which your fabricator can draw. So I try to make sure I get everything close to the fabricator. In this case, they're across the room, so there they are. So that has consumed that. Up here was the original plumbing in. So this is the original station power inlet. You've got your Pico terminal here, which I notice resets every time you, well, that's weird. So if you didn't know, you can, so depending on where it is, if you point at the display itself, then you see the option there at the bottom center, use Pico terminal. If you go down just a little bit to the button bar, you notice it says toggle display mode. You've actually got three different modes. So you have the normal green, which is the default. You have the whatever that is. Pushed it once, it didn't do anything. Then you go to the orange. Then you go to full color. Now the orange, the orange and green. You folks, if you're old enough to remember the '80s and dumb terminals, those were your two colors of choice. You had the green. Then there was a couple companies who put out orange monochrome displays, and then eventually you had a white display, and then eventually it was color. Those were dumb terminals with color were pretty rare. They were out there. BT340 something, I think it was. So it was, yeah, that's totally dating myself, sorry. All right, so it's a little arbitrary how many batteries you have. So in my case, I put 10. They look obnoxiously disorganized here. Originally, I was hoping there would be 3 there to the left of the power inlet. They just wouldn't fit. So what I could probably have done was ground down that battery closest on the right side, closest to the power inlet, and then put one in the middle. And I probably will, mostly just because OCD. So that'll be the downside to that, and in fact, so I don't know. You've got two sides to the OCD. There's the one side that 10 is a nice even number, and 11 isn't. So, and then you've got this kind of odd-looking gap here. So maybe it will be just a matter of moving that one over. I don't know. So it's kind of irrelevant for the most part. How many batteries do you need on a facility? In my experience with the platforms, one for most of them, because there's nothing there. So you come in, you put power down, and you have a battery that does everything you need it to do. You can do, for the most part, you can do all of the recycling you need to. You can do all the fabricating you need to. So not really a big deal. In this case, you have 2 huge power users. One is the big oil pump, which we'll tour eventually here, and the other is the distillation tower. So both of those obviously use electricity. They pull more electricity than I am making. So that's one of the reasons you see the batteries at about 50% here. I didn't realize that the pump, the big oil pump, even when the tanks are all full, it's basically running full blast all the time. So I think that's a bug. I would guess it's a bug. There's no reason for the pump to continue pumping but not pump. And you know, there's no oil flow. It just runs. So I think that's a bug. You know, it seems like to me it should shut down when all the tanks are full. It seems like it should shut down and go to idle, but I don't. It's not doing that. I thought it did at first, and you know, when I was standing down there, it did, but discovered later on. So anyway, so batteries, 10 batteries in this case. They're charging up now, and I'll show you why in a bit. So this back room here is your health and save. I'm not sure why this turned red. That's interesting. This door goes to absolutely nowhere. And what I mean by that is, have a nice fall. Not sure exactly why the devs put that door there. All right, back outside. There's nothing up here either. So back down here on the platform, so your pump is down here. So that's where the big huge pump is. I've got electric plumbed in. I came all the way from the bottom platform, which we'll show you in a bit. The downside to that one is it will not power the platform because so this is how you get down to that. The reason I've turned this, so this is the power going up or down depending on your perspective. In this case it is providing power to the pump, but this goes all the way, this leg right here goes all the way down to the bottom of the elevator platform, which is to say the platform where the elevator is, where you can dock. So this also potentially brings power all the way up from there. Why do I turn this off? Because if we turn this on, you can see it will start instantly drawing, and on the good side it is actually providing, it's pumping oil now. So when I turn it off, it's because all of those tanks are downstairs. And looks like we are almost out, which is kind of cool actually. These are out because and the diesel tanks look like, oh, the diesel tanks are full. Good. This is what I want. So interestingly, so the distillation tower is still running. Let me go over there. The distillation tower is still running, just producing petrol. So one of the things I noticed on the Saboteur reactor, if you have all the oxygen lines plumbed in, so it's producing oxygen at, as far as I know, 10 times the rate of methane, which I think is the same here, 10 times the rate of, so diesel is 10 times the rate of petrol. And it was running there, and maybe it was just getting materials out of the system. Yeah, so the diesel tanks, there are 9 diesel tanks up here, and I should put 10 just because. So there's 3 there, there's 2 there, and 4 there. All right, so let me turn these guys off. All right, which knocks down the noise a bit. All right, so let's back off just a bit. What we have is oil tanks. And there are 3 oil tanks here, and there are 6 oil tanks down in the pump room. And the idea there, so originally it was the 6 tanks down there. There were 2 original tanks here, and I just put one in the middle. There was just a big gap there. So I put one in the middle, and then I put 4 more oil tanks down on the, I think I said oil tanks here. These oil tanks in the foreground here. I might have said diesel, I don't know. Anyway, on we go. And I put 4 more oil tanks down on the platform. And my intention there was that I would have oil tanks on the boat, then I would have a distillation tower on the boat, and I would basically be able to take on crude and refine it right there on the boat, and then extend, you know, my run out to however long I want to go, and just have a good time of it. That turned out to not be such a good idea, as I explained at the very beginning. So something with, I'm presuming, weight and the physics of that particular boat, I just exceeded the weight capacity and it went nuts. So, and other people have experienced similar, maybe not from weight, but maybe distribution of weight, whatever it was. Anyway, that required I yank all that stuff off of the boat and then figure out how to produce my critical liquids up here. So the idea was I would make diesel, which would then be able to transfer into the boat. So the idea was that I would have, so on my boat I have 8 auxiliary diesel tanks. They're plumbed into everything. If you saw my boat tour, you saw where all those were. There's 4 on the bow, and then there's 4 on the stern. And all of them are plumbed into the boat tank, which is another 2,000 liters, which means you really have the equivalent of 9 tanks on the boat. So I wanted at least 9 tanks on the platform here. That way I hook up, pull in all the diesel, and then drive away and let this thing do what it's going to do. All plumbed in all the way down. So it looks kind of spaghetti. I did some cable management, but not a whole lot, just because there's not a whole lot that you can do. You can only do so much. And the game is frozen because of backups, I hope. There we go. Yep, doing a backup. Which are taking exceedingly long. I am on the main EA, as you can see up there in the top right corner. So this is not the beta build. They've got another beta build out, which I think is actually a hotfix of a hotfix. So I think they've done 2 beta updates, or 1 beta update since release. So, all right. So oil tanks up here, which are now empty. There's my 3 petrol tanks, which are not quite empty, but really close to being empty. And I'll explain that in a minute. You saw the generators over there. So here's the problem. Well, 2 problems. Number 1, these will degrade in, my guesstimate is you will degrade about 10% per day, per game day, which I think is absurd. No engineer on the planet would be happy with that kind of deterioration to a piece of equipment. So in a day. So anyway, that's. So anyway, plumbing, electricity. Now here's what I had to do when I first got here. I cleared the platform here of enemies, which was a little bit challenging. I highly recommend the flamethrower rifle. Highly recommend it. It makes for clearing the little stuff, the swarming stuff, much easier. What I did was fought a bit, couldn't figure out, materials wasn't the problem. The conversion of the materials into raw materials so I could build stuff was the problem. So once I got up here, I had to climb the main column, which I'll show you when I go down. So trying to determine how the heck I'm gonna get power up here was the challenge. I was initially thinking maybe I can just pull power up the center column, and that didn't work because the electric lines, the hoses, all that sort of thing, when you're standing there are somewhat stretchy, and I think you'll get like 3 meters out of it before it breaks. It pulls off. So when I initially strung power up, which was a chore to get it all the way up and in, it was problematic because you couldn't just dock. Maybe I could have docked, put the electric onto the platform, and then connected myself to an extender, swam over to the main column ladder, and then gone up that way. That may have worked. What I had done was park the boat right off the column, so I had a very short distance to swim through the water, because at night and water, good luck with that. So anyway, what I ended up doing was building this Typhoon in the corner, and that was my initial power. I did that, and then a battery, and then eventually, as I got things coordinated and got all the enemies cleared and got the boat docked, so I had use of the elevator. Then I built the rest of the power, which was the 3 Typhoons, and then over here on the far side you can see the Lumimax. There's 4 of them on the helicopter landing pad. Now eventually, because helicopter landing pad is for helicopters, then the rumor is the devs want to put a gyrocopter, a small gyrocopter, into the game. So maybe. And if that's the case, then it will make for getting to this platform a lot easier. So anyway, my production area, my batteries, where the main connection for power is, and the health and save terminals are up there, as well as the Pico terminal up here. Down here we have the 3 Typhoons on this end, the 6 Lumimax on the other end, and then down in the pump room, I guess we'll just go down to the pump room. You actually come in via the pump room. That's the first major room you get to. So that door at the very bottom is actually where you, I'll show you. So this is one of the drop ladders, but interestingly enough, there are stairs. I'm not sure why they have a drop ladder with stairs, but they do. Oh, sorry. I think this is where you come in. So, nope, not. Sorry, excuse me. Where's the other one? This is it. So this ladder right here is on the main column. You can see my boat docked, well, kind of docked there, anchored. So this is the thing going all the way up the tower. So what I did, it gives you a flat surface on each side of the ladder. There is just enough room. So let me demonstrate. I'm not going to be able to build them right now because I don't have that. So do the enter thing as I'm going down, so you have just enough room off to the side here. Let's see if I can get it to work again. Oh, it's not working. There we go. So you have just enough room that you can put down the extenders and bring power up this column. So anyway, that's how I did it initially, and then I took it all off. I wonder why it won't work on that side. Oh, maybe it's the width. Maybe I did bring it up on this side first. Anyway, so the idea is that you can put the extenders and take your cable all the way down, and I presume go over to the platform and have a solid point. That way you're not going stretchy between the boat and here, and attach on power. Now it would arguably be the same thing because your boat still is sitting on the dock. Cue that. You can see how much this is heavy seas out here, this far north, so you can see how the boat is just all kinds of moving, which is too far away to do the connections, so for what that's worth. So anyway, on up we go. Oh, darn. I thought I'd missed there. So you come into this level of the pump room. Going to now, whether you go onto the platform and then swim across, the elevator is at the top when you arrive, when everything is dark. So what I ultimately did was anchor right off the ladder going up the main column, and then swam across. You know, jumped in and swim across. It's pretty short. You know, I did that specifically because I didn't want to deal with the worms in the water. So I came down here, was able to see that this is the main pump, and there's two ways to go. So that's the way we came in, and then this is another way to go out. I presume you can also bring power up in some way here. So we'll go out here just to show you. So this is diesel going out and electric potentially coming in. Now there's two ways across. I know this is kind of spoiling, but you can actually jump over here onto this pipe and walk across and jump back on over here. You can actually, if you're not over encumbered, you can actually jump that. Barely, but you can jump that. So I've still got my original. So originally I was going over there because I was thinking there's got to be some way to basically take power and oil down, but there isn't. Well, I mean, somebody more creative than I am. So what I ultimately ended up doing was the proverbial bungee jumping, even though it wasn't bungee jumping. This is wonky cable, whatever, because I didn't actually jump over that. I came straight down from here. So I don't know how it ended up over, but so those are the two lines going down, which is originally was oil, converted over to diesel when I determined that having all of that oil and stuff on the front of the boat was not going to work. So electricity and diesel, just straight down to the platform there. It would be nice to have pipes, but nope. So back in, so this is the pump room. I was able to fit 6 oil tanks in here. So there's 2 here, 2 over here, and then 2 over here, and eventually the power to the lights right there. So the pump takes 60 kilowatts of energy. The distillation tower takes 60 kilowatts of energy. So keep that in mind. Let's we'll go up and back up to the main platform, and then we'll start some other stuff. Show you kind of what this looks like. So this one ended up on the ground just because. So this was oil, and oil was going up to the tanks, but from the pump room was going down to the platform below. So when I realized that having oil down there and being able to convert down there was going to be a bit problematic, it was like, okay, how the hell do I do this? So let me just change that line going all the way down to the platform, the docking platform, to diesel. But I don't have diesel down into the pump room, so I had to take it down there. So that's what this upper one, or sorry, that's what this lower one actually is the diesel. And then I left this one up because it is actually supplying the tanks on the deck as well as the distillation tower. So that's my oil up, whereas this is my diesel down. So anyway, I moved them all up just to kind of get them out of the way, because I had kind of thought maybe I'll put extra tanks in here, but never did. So I don't know if these are, I don't know if there's a way through these or not. Are these? sure how to get into those. I haven't done a lot of discovery. Okay, so that's the pump room. So we have power down as well as potentially the power up. This is our oil line, and then this is our diesel line, which goes all the way down in this case to the platform below, the docking platform. Up the ladder here, we're on the main deck. Pretty well lit, thankfully. So I didn't have a lot of problems with any of the enemies here, really. Oh, look at that! Got stuff that I didn't even see there. So 3 oil tanks up here and 6 oil tanks below, so 9 oil tanks total. So between the solars and the typhoons, as far as I can tell, how much are these? About 10 kilowatts. So between these 3 is 30 kilowatts, and of course, let's see. Okay, so in time that you saw from me fixing them before, we're already down 6%. So 6% in like 2 hours of game time. So I think this is bugged, but I don't know. Maybe they will fix that in one of the beta branches. I'm not sure. So I will stop complaining. All right, over here we have our 3 petrol tanks. The petrol tanks here also come by the generators. Why do I have the generators? Because between the sun, which of course only is up a certain number of hours in the day, then I have probably maximum of, well, let me see, I just fixed these, so let's have a look, just for fun. Now they're back up. Not sure what that platform is there, pretty close, but I may go to that one just because. And then there's also this one over here that I really want to go to, just because that tiered thing. I think that's a habitat, and then I'm not sure what that one is. So, okay, let's look here. 9.4 kilowatts. So roughly 27 kilowatts coming out of this, 28 kilowatts maybe. Coming out of this between these 3. So keeping in mind the pump takes 60, and with just the just the typhoons, we're producing less than half of what we need, which means I was draining those batteries when I turned the pump on. Oops. So one of the things I was kind of able to determine was that I'm not going to be able to run the pump and the distillation tower simultaneously. So what I did, which is somewhat self-defeating, is put in the 2 generators. These are the large generators. Now, the downside to these guys, they pull in 6,000 liters an hour. Now, if you do your math and you have worked with generators in real life, 6,000 liters in an hour is ridiculous. These are 30 kilowatt generators, so by real world Earth standards, that's not very big. This is a small commercial generator. To put that in perspective, the typical house in the United States has a 200 amp service that is 25 kilowatts. So your house can run on a 25 kilowatt generator at full tilt when you blow the main breaker. So just to put that all in perspective, 25 kilowatts in real life, which is running about 3 gallons an hour. 3 to 6 gallons an hour depending on the efficiency of the generator. An older generator is probably going to run about 6 gallons an hour. for 30 kilowatts, maybe more, but right around there. So, you know, real world numbers don't apply here. So this is 6,000 liters per hour to produce 30 kilowatts. So between the two generators, they were actually keeping up, and then the solar and the typhoons were ahead. So they were going into the battery directly. So basically the two generators here were powering the distillation tower. Now the downside is 6,000 liters times 2 is 12,000 liters per hour. The distillation tower produces 3,600 liters per hour. So this is not a perpetual motion engine, in other words. So the reason I have no petrol is because I burned it all producing electricity to run this. So obviously, again, not a perpetual motion engine. So you kind of have sacrifices. So I wanted to fill the diesel tanks, but in the end, I want to try this. So somebody pointed out to me on this Saboteur reactor that if you have all the oxygens plumbed in, when your oxygen tank is full, the reactor will stop. But if you pull off at least one of the oxygen outlets, it just vents oxygen into the atmosphere. So it will keep running and produce methane. So the question, will this do that as well? Grab the cable. And the answer is no. It absolutely has to produce diesel. So what I was doing, which is potentially a little cheaty. So this is the plastic. It produces diesel, petrol, and plastic. Yeah, let's do this just for fun. Now again, remember, this is your perpetual motion engine here. So, okay. So what we're going to do is build a diesel tank. So, sorry, that was not what I wanted to do. We want to build all the parts to the diesel tank. So what I determined before I was educated on just taking off one of the ports for oxygen for the Saboteur reactor was what I would do is there were two oxygen tanks. So there was one there, I repaired it, and then I built another one. So the idea is your rocket needs 12,000 liters of oxygen. The oxygen tank is 9,000 liters of oxygen, which means I'm 3/4 of the way there. So my thoughts are I fill up 2 oxygen tanks, and that's 18,000 liters, which means I can literally plug in the rocket and it sucks everything out of the tanks and I launch the rocket. The methane tank is also 9. You need, or maybe it's 6, and you need 3,000 methane for the rocket, which means that one tank for methane is fine. The downside is the 10 times, so I'm producing 10 times the amount of oxygen as methane. So basically what I did was the 2 oxygen tanks fill, I literally dismantle one and rebuild it. So when you rebuild it, it's empty. all that oxygen just goes away. So basically, I rebuild it, it's empty, plug it back into oxygen, and then the Saboteur reactor starts again because now it's producing oxygen that has somewhere to go. So anyway, that's my idea here, that I will build a diesel tank. Do I still? Yes, I do. And this is just for the sake of doing this. It's not going to be pretty at all. So we'll just put it over here. So build. It's telling me because I didn't pick them up. I made them and then I didn't pick them up. There we go. All right. Build tank. Build. Spin it around so I've got my. I suppose I could be. This is just literally to build and run and. So this is literally for the sake of having something for somewhere for that diesel to go. So just more to demonstrate. I don't want to take up video time on filling the 3 tanks there. All right, so now so these are going to try and balance. And I think, did I turn this off? Nope. So the other half of this equation, so the reason I turned that off, so the oil tanks are empty. Oops. So we turn the pump back on, and it will fill up the tanks. So here's the real question. We've got all the tanks down there, so that's actually pretty impressive, 12,000 liters an hour. So these 3 tanks, which is 6,000, should fill up in about a half hour of probably real time, I think this scales to. So so that's including those tanks down below. So on the flip side is I really can't effectively, let's see how these are doing. I don't know if that would be, that's 4,000 liters an hour. Well, so all the numbers still match, but that looks like it's going up awful slow. Granted, all 3 of these are going up at the same rate. I have no idea what the hoses can actually hold capacity-wise. So the electric cables, for example, have 2 megawatts as their determination. So that's the max rate that the electric can go. I have no idea. The most I've seen is about 72,000 liters, so I don't know if that's the limit of those. Probably. All right, so the bottom line here is that putting this here is a later, and think what I will do is 18. So drawing from the 11 tanks. So once again, there's 5 down on the platform below. There are 4 over here. So 5 and 4 make 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Sorry, there's 14. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 below make 10, and then 4 make 14. So I was wrong. Not 11, 14. So that would have been my catch-all. So the idea here is if I pull this off, drop it, and then just destroy this, just as I dismantle, I get all the pieces back because the durability is 100, which is say 100%. If it's less durability than 100%, you might start losing items, but otherwise it's 100%, which is to say all of the parts and pieces you put into it are what you will get back. So we go to our inventory menu originally and then build. We go down here to our stored and that drives me nuts. We rebuild this. So again, these are just ideas. Obviously anything works. Anything that works that you like is what works. So this is a me. I'm going to pick up my my hose again. Normally I'd do cable management and put a extender down here to keep everything on the ground. So in this case, they're all equalizing to this empty one again. So that's what I would ultimately do, would be just keep building and destroying that one. So basically I would lose 2,000 liters of diesel at a time, which would let me fill up my petrol tanks because it's at a rate of 10 to 1 for this guy. So what I mean by that is that it makes 10 times. So it makes 10 liters of diesel for every 1 liter of petrol. So 1 liter of petrol to 10 liters of diesel. Now, my ratio at 14, technically it would be 20 tanks to 2 tanks, or 10 tanks to 1 tank for petrol. So I'm a little off kilter to have 3 over there. That's just me being OCD overkill, so anyway. So cable management, I would love. So obviously we can see yellow here is diesel. We know that when there is material flowing, we can see them in the lines, and they are the color of the appropriate whatever it happens to be. Why those started. Interesting. So this one just reversed, and then those started picking up. So anyway, this is of course something that I can play with later. So 60,000 watts. The pump below is 60,000 watts. So what I did over here was run the generator. Back up. Run the generators so I could actually get through the night and let the batteries charge without going fully exhausted. So over here the platform is pretty much the same, other than I put solars up here. The problem with kind of a solar farm is, depending on where the sun happens to be, you can see that the sun is behind me because of where these things are tracking now. It may actually be going down. Turn around and look. Can't tell. Yeah, I think it's actually going down because it's going behind the tower over there, the tank. probably a distillation tower model. So anyway, the downside of these guys is that ultimately they will shadow. So you might have one panel, as you can see right now, there's a portion of the panel that's actually in the way. So this creating a shadow on this, and they will lose efficiency and production to do that. So that's the downside. So you can see, and these guys will, you know, drop completely off by the time it's all done. So I am not going to leave this running just because I want my so this is not the ideal place to do this. I really wish I mean I could run a second electric line down specifically for the pump. The other side is to leave this on and actually go down and turn the pump off, which is probably the non-lazy way to do that. So, you know, right now there's really minimal power in use. So all of this power is actually, we can see all power being produced right now is going to the batteries, which is good. So. All right, I'm going to do one more repair here. So there you go. In just the time. So yeah, to me, the degrading of your you know, prime mover is really frustrating. All right, so what we'll do is carry on smartly. So this is everything here. We've got our power that comes now. The solars are dead because of, well, a little bit, I guess. So distillation tower producing both petrol and diesel. Diesel, you know, is really what I use on the boat. So that's kind of what I wanted to have down there. So I have the equivalent of 9 tanks for the boat. So I wanted at least 9, and it looks like I've exceeded that by 5. So I can actually get rid of all these down below and be okay. But okay, down we go. Once your platform is all clear, then you can go down the elevator. One of the things I noticed, now this may be fixed in the beta. I've already reported this, and a couple other players who have actually come to the platform have experienced the same thing. So these call buttons, both top and the bottom, don't work. My guess is that has to be a bug. I don't think they would do that intentionally. So there's where my lines are coming down. And again, this one converted over to diesel. So we have 2 diesel tanks over here, and then 3 diesel tanks over here. I did plumb this in over here, so if you ever dock on this side, then you've automatically got the diesel over here. I did not plumb the electric onto this side. You can see heavy seas, the boat's really rocking. So this is the electric going up, of course. Now the downside is it will not power the platform with the configuration that I have. So what I really need to do is go back through and basically make my main power cable up and through to be all the way through, and then put a completely separate line down to the pump so I could actually manipulate it from the platform if that's what I want to do, instead of not, you know, just being lazy and going down. So I discovered a couple of these pipes, which just basically lead you to out here, and I have no idea what their purpose is, but something. So anyway, my diesel coming down, it goes to over there, spawns to these 2, and then comes and goes over so I can attach readily onto the ship. Now the downside is, because it's heavy seas here all the time, your mooring lines will not remain attached. They have the same problem. You get too crazy. So what I did was come in as close as I can, use the mooring cables to bring my boat directly on side the dock, and then anchor. So you can kind of use your mooring cables to help you out. The downside is you're seeing this, 2.5 meters of, rise fall, which then, makes it a little crazy. Maybe even 3 meters there. So, a little bit crazy. Alright, so I'm going to drive away. The boat is full of diesel. I've got all 8 tanks plus the main tank is full, which is all nice, which is the whole reason to kind of commandeer this platform. So now I have 5 tanks of diesel down here, as well as all the tanks of diesel up above. So 14 tanks of diesel all there. With the elevator down, I should be able to take it back up, provided power remains stable. So, with that having been said, we'll jump on the boat and then get underway. So this is Caretaker signing off. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.